So you saw Frankenstein.
Yeah, it was. I think it was on Netflix. 2.5 hours. Not really my jam
Yeah.
because it was lengthy. I've seen enough Frankenstein stuff, but it seemed like a pretty realistic depiction if you were to assemble a monster out of a bunch of different parts, what they would look like. The acting was first rate. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, first rate. I think
Well,
the actors are known. I'm not really good on Hollywood stuff, but
mm-hmm.
Laurie and Kaz knew who they were.
Okay. You know the story of Frankenstein, the original story of
Yeah.
Frankenstein. It's a modern Prometheus. It was written by Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, Percy Shelley's wife, and she was like it was like the first female novel. Well, all other novels before that were by anonymous, they say, but there were a few before that. But it was really in this romantic gothic genre, and yeah, modern Prometheus, and that. So I do. It's nothing. It's not Boris Karloff. It's definitely not a
No,
Boris Karloff story.
no,
The
this
story
was
of a modern.
kind of a complex story and a little
It
bit
is a
different.
complex story. It is a
Yeah,
complex story, and it is not what you think of as Universal's Frankenstein.
but I struggle in movies that are like 2.5 hours. I think it was 2 hours 40 minutes. I
Yeah.
was one of those that if I was in the theater, I would have stood up and applauded because I was ready for it to be over.
Mm, mm.
But it
You
was
know,
good.
the last movie I saw in the theater was with David Thissell. I went and saw Oppenheimer, and that was just nonstop. That was a fantastic film. I love that film. But have you seen that one?
What movie?
Oppenheimer?
Oh yeah, boy, that was
Yeah.
a long time ago.
Yeah, well, you know, it's the last time I went to the theater to see a movie. But his brother, okay, his brother, I met his brother at the Exploratorium in San Francisco. It was Mr. Walton's class. We went to we went to the Exploratorium, and he said, "There's Robert Oppenheimer's brother." And so I walked up to him, and sure enough, it was Robert Oppenheimer's brother. Both of them were blacklisted for being commies, right? And he ended up he was still a professor at Berkeley at the time. So that was really something else. I met the brother of the guy. Well, and his brother worked on the bomb as well. But his brother was always there. He was there. He was like I think he was the curator actually. But that was a good experience. But anyhow, enough of us. Some changes. Yes, I came online this time. I didn't come online for Tom Bernini. Tom Bernini, I love you. It has me not being there has nothing to do with me loving you. I just knew if I was there, you and I would just talk tech the whole time, and Jim would be lost. And
Oh, I'd be clueless. I wouldn't even know what you guys are talking about.
Exactly. And
That
Eric
part of my
Bates,
brain doesn't operate.
we do have the Eric Bates lost tapes, which we will, if I can figure out how to get the echo out of it, we'll launch that sometime again. Some of you guys have seen it, some have not, but I was involved in that one. But it just rolled off so well that I thought it was best just let Jim and Eric talk. That was just an amazing show last week.
It was a lot of fun.
It was awesome.
I think the coolest part about all of this is
Yeah.
when you have long-term friends that
Yeah.
you think you know so much about, and yet there's so much you don't know about them. That's what's cool about this. Like Russ, known him forever, but I
Yeah.
don't. I don't
Yeah.
know about stuff he did in his career. I saw him in Tennessee not long ago. But what I hope to get out of these is for people to see all of our differences and learn stuff about their friends that only their family members or people super close to them know about him. That's what's kind of cool. And Eric
Awesome.
was just chilling to me.
Eric was fantastic, and everyone that's been on here, I've just been absolutely pleased with.
Yeah.
So I think we're doing the right thing. Let me get Russ online. Yeah.
Okay.
Here we go. Let's see. We'll bring Russ in. Pull out of, and there. Here we go. Hey, Russ, how you doing?
Look at that handsome devil.
Look at that. So,
well, good morning to you guys.
Well, it's evening for me. It's going on. It's past 6, so it's dark.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm on the. I'm to the east of you, but direct from Tennessee. a California transplant, Russell Skinner, and I'll see you guys in about 40 minutes or so. Jim, welcome, Russ, and hope to hear some great stuff. Jim, yeah, as we say, take
Let's
it
go.
away.
Well, Russ, I think a lot of people are going to start to see a little bit of commonality as we kind of go through the various people that I invite on here. There's kind of a reason that I kind of picked the people that I do. That the first person was Lori Hunt because it was tied very closely to the BV reunion, and I wanted people to
Right.
get a feel for, hey, this is why we have reunions. And then really the theme has been along the way people that we've known a long time, but frankly don't know anything about their lives. We have impressions as kids, and now people are going to wonder if my whole life is around Jim David Field because Eric last week, Mike and I talked a lot about Jim David Field. Our guest next week, David Grasshoff, sent me a picture from Jim David Field last week. And I think part of it is this is where a lot of us met, but a lot has happened in the 45 to 50 years since a lot of us met. And it's kind of nice to find out what was life really like as kids, your perception, what was it like being around your family? What did you learn growing up? What have you done with your career? What's your what's your family like today, and what are your passions? So I like talking about that stuff. Now, before I get going, I just hung up with Brian Anderson 15 minutes ago. He just came home from Daryl's. He was doing some work up at Daryl's place, and Daryl and Brian watched Eric Bates last night, and they were like, "What a trip!" Because they haven't seen Eric in years, and they remember Eric as a little kid, which is kind of funny.
Right.
Some of us still see each other as little kids, and Brian absolutely loved it. And when I told him you were on this morning, going, "Big Russ, man, tell Big Russ hello."
I don't know if I'm so big anymore.
Well, do you know what's funny though? If I can start off with my memories of you, I have a picture prominently placed of our 13-year-old All-Star team, but I met you clearly before that. But I do remember a time in 13-year-old All-Stars, we played so many games that you think about these things because some of us are wild pitchers. You get inside. If a fight ever breaks out, who do you want to protect you? Now, DeLeo and Fondersmith were bigger, but I would have jumped behind you because I always felt like you were the toughest guy on our team. And it might have proven out to be true because I think as we find out more about your life in law enforcement, a lot of that, plays a big part in that. So what do you tell me a little bit about? Luckily, I know your parents, your father, Big Wayne, super intimidating guy, but the best laugh on the planet. What was your childhood like, and how did you end up in Fair Oaks? And then how did you end up at the baseball diamonds of Jim David? And what kind of role did those things play in your life?
Well, shoot, started out. Mom and Dad had a house up on Madison and Sunrise, and life the way it is. Dad lost his job. We went from living in a big ass house and having cars to a used car and living in a house over on Oak Glen. And then it's life. And now as an adult, I look back and I realize, man, they had real life stuff too. So then we moved into Oak Glen, and that's kind of like the timing of I moved next door to George Todd, and Robert Bruce lived down the street, and then we were playing baseball and ended up at the Andersons, and you know. So, um, yeah, I mean, we lived a apple pie and Chevrolet life. Really, honestly, I mean, you never went without things, but now sitting back, I realize like how hard it was, for our parents. But we had a
Yeah.
great,
It's funny, as a kid, we're all happy as can be, waking up and getting to go see our friends, not realizing, the struggles, like my memories of us being on food stamps. I remember
right.
one month, and I'm not embarrassed. I remember one month, Rasco Tempo, I needed a new pair of shoes. I saw them, they were 99 cents. We couldn't buy them at that time. We had to wait until the next month to buy a 99-cent pair of shoes. As a kid, it doesn't
Right.
matter to you. But you wonder in hindsight, how are your parents doing? And it's funny how they mask it, because your dad was just bigger than life. Mike Todd, I swear to you, if he could adopt a father, it would be your dad,
Mhm.
because he talks about him like he was such a mentor to him, introducing him to your dad. Worked at Bell, right?
Yeah, that's where they all started working together. Mike worked for my dad.
Oh,
So
you worked there as well?
yeah, I worked all through college there. Drove a beer truck for him, and was in charge of all the concerts out at Cal Expo and hauling all the kegs and setting everything up. And that was my job. You know, and then during the week I drove a beer truck for him. So, and that's kind of one of the things I learned, that man, I don't want to do this the rest of my life. I got to find something else I got to do. So,
Well, that was
you
pretty
know,
hard work, lifting kegs and lifting cases and all that
oh
stuff.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I was going to school, but I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was playing baseball, and um, I started a little bit at Sac City, and you think you're all that until you get to college, and it's like, oh man, there's a whole bunch of guys that are just as good as me. And then I remember Weinstein telling me I was going to sit on the bench, and I'm like, oh no, I ain't sitting on the bench. So I went up to Sierra, and I was just taking classes, and what, I played 2.5, 3 years there, and I finally had a big realization, and you know, told the coach off and said, you know what, I'm going to go. I got to get my head out of my, what. So I got my AA degree and went back to Sac State and got my BS in criminal justice. And shoot, I graduated, got married, and there it is, there all in one year. So
How much of an influence did, Wayne play a role in not only like sculpting, a work ethic and all that, because he was pretty good at that as a coach, but also wanting to pursue baseball and then the love of baseball? How much of a role was that? And were there other influencing factors, just like the rest of us, that hanging out at Jim David on Saturdays was a blast?
I think it's everything. I think it was Mr. Mayor, Krista's dad, Daryl, and you know, Mr. Bates. It all came together, and I think the biggest compliment that I got in my baseball career, I think, was from Mr. Bates. So probably, I don't know, 3 4 years ago, and he complimented me on, we were playing Del Campo, and Eric, I think, won a complete game. We beat him. And, he's like, man, you called that whole game and you did a great job. And it made me feel good. It's like, wow, thanks, man. Um, in regards to the people that formed me, uh, my dad had a big, big part in that, and a lot of it came when I was driving a truck for him, making mistakes and all that stuff. So, yeah, I'm just disappointed that I didn't get him for longer, but it is what it is. It's life.
Unfortunately, it is. Lori and I talk frequently that we feel like we're the odd ones because we both still have both of our parents, and we get to talk to them, frequently, and all of that, and that all these transitions in life, you know, prepare you or don't prepare you for, you know, what's next. What So what made you choose law enforcement? I want to dive into the whole law enforcement thing because I think you did three different things while you were doing it. Um, but where did that influence come from? Considering your mom, your dad, etc. What got your interest in that?
Um, I think I always liked it. Always wanted to do it. And I had a bunch of people telling me, "You don't want to become a cop." Um, I remember watching Cops, and it's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go do this." So, and I think in life, what I learned is when I started making decisions for myself, and this is what I want to do. That's when things started falling into place. You know, I knew I was working 35 hours a week and going to school. But it didn't matter because it's like, this is my direction. I got it done. I took the first job that came to me, which was a blessing. Um, and went to work for the California Department of Corrections and, learned a lot there. Uh, I knew
Where
one
did you
thing I
work?
didn't want to. I worked down in Stockton, so I worked on so back then it was called the Youth Authority.
Yeah, California
So
Youth
the,
Authority.
so the guys that I had, they were 18 to 25, and a good majority of them were doing life or life without the possibility, and it was an absolute gladiator school. Um, so um, learned a lot in there. I mean, I had people telling me you'll never get that job as a parole agent. That's what I wanted to do. Uh, I did 5.5 years inside, and then went out to being a parole agent in San Francisco, which was like the biggest eye-opening thing I ever did in my life. I was absolutely a greenhorn and had great bosses. Learned a lot from other cops and working on the streets. So then that kind of started my career on the streets. Really, I then transferred up north.
Was that a result of working at CYA and seeing the kids and knowing that at some point they're going to get out, or was it preconceived that parole is where you wanted to go?
Oh, parole's where I wanted to go. I wanted to be out on the streets, um, and it was a promotion, so I took that. And I mean, really, honestly, I was driving to have a normal life, weekends and holidays off, um, and be home, with my family. And at the time, my son was just born, and you know, so we did that for I don't know 4 or 5 years down there. Then I transferred up north, so I ended up in Marysville, California, and
Whoa.
so I went from Marysville, California, to there, and I covered the hills. So I covered from Marysville to Sierra City all by myself, and um, then I came back down and got assigned to the gang unit and the narcotics unit. Did that for another 5 years, and then had a
Do you mind if I ask a couple of questions before you go there?
go ahead.
Because I love learning stuff. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say I watched at 6 a.m. this morning a thing on Antarctica about the curiosity. Are there bases there? Is there some weird stuff going on there? So I'm fascinated with everything in life that I don't truly understand. So the role of a parole agent, because I watch Law and Order periodically, there's the parole side of it. Somebody isn't checking in when they need to check in. So day in and day out, what is that job like? Is it filled with you've got to go check in on people that are recently out and make sure that they're trying to live a good life in society, that they have a job, etc. And then is there another part that now somebody's missing and you got to go look for them, or is it all of that?
It's all of that. Um, you wear all kinds of different hats. You're referring people. Now, a parole agent, um, a parolee, when he gets out on parole, that parole is an extension to their sentence. So at any given time, me as a parole agent, I can revoke their parole, and then I do a report. My boss reviews it, and then it goes to the board of prison hearings, and they determine what his revocation time is going to be. So that means they go back to prison on a revocation. And then parole is usually 4 years. It can be extended depending on the case, up to 5 at that time. Um, and then as a daily thing, it's, you have to meet people, you have to, drug test them, you have to refer them to counseling, you got to, help them with finding jobs. And then, when they don't behave right, then you got to put them in handcuffs and put them in jail. If they don't report, then I have to do a warrant, and a warrant is issued for their arrest. And so that's kind of how the parole side of it works.
Now, I would
Um,
imagine that there was like a pretty wide spectrum of, those that are light offenders and they're really trying to rehabilitate themselves. And then there are those that are going to be in the system forever and they're probably giving you a lot of attitude and all of that. Were there any instances where you saw somebody, and because you have a lot of father in you, you've always had that kind of feeling to me that you've always been kind of an older soul. Were there ever those instances where you had somebody that you kind of took a liking to him? I'm not saying you wanted to be their pal, but you saw, hey, this person's salvageable, and you took kind of a more of a personal interest in making sure that they got their shit together. Did you ever have that feeling?
um, yes and yes. Um, you learn early on that if you try to fix people, you're gonna get burned out. Um,
Oops.
so
That's why I never chose the path. I would have never made it because I'm trying to fix
uh,
everything all the time.
so I guess the biggest thing that I learned um, is being fair, firm, and consistent. All I can do is press my uniform and shine my boots and show up as an example of what you should be in life. And I think that when people ask you a question, answer them truthfully. Um, so to piggyback off I had a guy that, he was just a number one bad guy when he came to prison. And uh, years go by, I get that, got that beautiful neck now. So I'm pretty sick and I'm in Costco and I come around the corner and I know instantly who this guy is. And he literally looks at me and grabs a hold of me and gives me a hug and says, "Man, it's so good to see you." And I'm like, "Holy Lord, I am in no shape to deal with this guy." I'm with my wife. He basically ends up telling my wife that uh, everything that I told him came true, and that is that it doesn't matter what you do in life, the money in your pocket belongs to you, and I can't take that money from you. You're not doing drugs, you're not selling drugs, you're not out there gang banging and stuff like that. And he goes, "It all was true." And so I was like, "I appreciate that, man. Thank you." So that's all I
Good for
ever
you.
did is just, all you can do is lead them to water, but you can't make them drink. So that was like my basic um, avenue. You know, that's what I used. So,
Now, did you
um,
ever have any
yeah.
guys that disappeared while on parole and a bunch of you had to roll out and go find them?
Well, absolutely. I mean, my last 13 years, I was a special agent with our fugitive team, and then I was assigned to the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force. So that's basically what we did all day long. Is go after parolees that were wanted for major crimes, either homicide, sex offenses, shootings, gang stuff. So basically, I played hide and go seek all day, and you know that's I guess that's why I was good at it when I was a kid. you know, my kids would ask me what I did all day, and I said, played hide and go seek, guys. So yeah, and we investigated fugitives, located them, and then went and either got a search warrant and kicked the door and went and got them and took them to jail. So it
Any
was a
of
great
those,
job.
any of those instances turn out bad where something unexpected happened, somebody got hurt?
Oh yeah, I mean there was always things like that. You know, I mean, I think the worst one was I used to work really closely with Bob French. He was a Sacramento sheriff's deputy. We probably talked two, 3 times a week on guys in his beat. Um, and he was the one that was shot and killed by Fulton in 80 there at the whatever. But you know, unfortunately, I was at the office doing paperwork, and I heard the radio come out. By the time I got there, I got to the command post. He'd passed away, and that really still to this day stays with me. Um, and that's the one of the times that I actually called my wife, and I had to pull the car over, and I just I was um, I don't know how to put it, but I was just awestruck that I just lost a colleague um, in that way. So and that there's a lot of things in the job that you can't expect people to understand. Um,
That's honestly, that's why I wanted to talk to you, Russ. Is there are so many things in life so many of us take for granted that we kind of think we know what's going on, or for that matter, one of the challenges in life today is a lot of people think they think what other people should think, and they don't even take the time to understand why somebody that they care about thinks completely differently. And I thought, knowing that there's a span of your career, you probably brought a lot of it home with wins, losses, and all of those things impact you. So I think a lot of us do take for granted all the special work people do to keep the rest of us safe.
well, I mean, I was blessed with a great wife. Um, she never asked me questions. Um, I would come home, we would feed the kids, give them baths, and before I came through the door, I'd call her and say, "Hey, I'm probably going back to work tonight, so if the phone rings, I got to go." And it was what we did. It was just running and gunning. But the main thing, the kids were good. Put them to bed, and I'd roll in at 2, 3 in the morning, um, and wake up, take them to school, and go back and do it again. Um, but I had a great. My wife is my. Um, I don't have many
Rock.
friends in life, but she does her thing, and so I will always be indebted to her. So
Well, I would imagine
yeah,
the stress of what you did. You go from Department of Corrections to parole, and then I think next was like gang unit type stuff.
yeah, yeah. The yeah. So we did, you know, drug warrants, you know, and unfortunately, the same the same unit that I worked with, they lost a guy, the Marysville police officer, who was shot and killed. I mean, I don't know how many warrants I did like that with these guys, and so I mean, there was plenty of times where you walk back out the door and go, "Wow, that was close. That was close," you know, and you kind of chuckle about it, um, and then you just keep on, you know, trucking on. But you know, and I will say in retirement, uh, I didn't realize the little in the business of law enforcement, whatever you do, there are things that you take little nicks in life, you know, mentally and psychologically. You take those hits, um, and that's it sometimes adds up, you know. And I try to tell people, I'm like, hey man, don't be afraid to go talk to a neutral person, meaning somebody has no idea what you do, and just spill the beans. This is how I feel. This is what I'm going through. Um, and you know, I started doing yoga. It sounds crazy, but
No, I
it
totally
is.
get it. It's very relaxing and it clears your mind.
It does. It really does. And you know, so but with that, you know, I mean, I'm like I don't know if anyone knows, but I'm getting my master's degree and hoping to teach. And I had a you know, it's always in the back of my mind. I had a great professor named Bob Benton. Um, he was a SAC PD officer, detective, etc. And you know, he'd always come to class and say, "Sure, you want to do this job?" And he used to always think, like, why are you doing this? Well, long story short, we kind of reconnected at the gym one day. I saw him. Uh, we were talking, and I'd always call him Mr. Benton. And he told me, he said, "You know what? You're in the right to call me Bob." And it his statement always resonated with me. And I looked at him and I said, "You know what, Mr. Benton, Bob?" I said, "I I get what you're saying. Not everybody's made out to be a cop. So, you know, you got to know the things going into this of what you're going to be up against. Because being a cop, being in law enforcement, it will change you. It changes your personality. You don't look at things different. You look at things differently in life. You know, I wish I could be, you know, I wish I could be Jim Sorum and just love everything about everybody. Um, it
It isn't always like that. Sometimes, I wear a mask. There are things because of a lot of things that happen to me as a young person. There's a reason that I'm so inquisitive and so interested in everybody because you never really know what's going on with somebody. I used to play golf with a fellow that served in Vietnam, multiple tours. And there were times that when we were on the putting green, just talking and putting, nicest guy in the world. And then all of a sudden, I saw PTSD for the first time. I saw a guy that saw stuff that he doesn't want anybody else to see.
right,
And unfortunately, I really liked him. He took his own life because he couldn't handle it, because he
right.
could not find somebody to talk to or work through it. And that's why I've always had so much respect for law enforcement, those that wear the uniform and protect us in foreign lands, because it's not something I can relate to. I wasn't that person, you know. I have my own burdens that I carry that I do my best to just stay positive, but I know exactly what you're saying because I saw it firsthand. Somebody that I thought was a-okay carrying burdens I can't relate to. And I would imagine in the progression of your career and that adrenaline of kicking a door down, not knowing what's behind it, or even some days you're wondering, am I coming back type of stuff, man, I can't even imagine what that feels like for you, Russ. And you and I have never talked about it. I mean, you and I hung out in Tennessee at a golf tournament, and I think all we did is joked about our childhood, but I didn't dive into
Yeah.
it. So I'm glad that you have the support at home, but how tough was that waking up some days knowing you don't know what's ahead of you and all of that, and of all of your roles, where was the most fear, or did you even let
Um,
fear get to you?
well, well, I mean, I'll say one thing. I mean, there was there was a good time I didn't think I was going to make it to retirement. Uh, I thought for sure someone was going to get lucky, us coming through a door, and I would die in the line of duty. But I think the one thing that I mean, I just kind of like raised my hands and I gave myself to God, and I would drop the kids off, and I would pull around the corner and pray the Our Father, and you know, I knew I talked to my wife and I said, you know what, I know you got this. If it goes all bad, I know that I'm going to I will give you my best every day to get home. Uh, but I'm okay. If this does happen, um, I'm not going down without a fight. So, you know, and I guess I carried over to when I had cancer. So, you know, uh, the biggest thing is I ask my kids now that I hope I didn't burden you with I hope I didn't burden you with what I did, and it so yeah, it it's life, and I try to be better. But as my son said, I retired one day and he came home and he's like, "Who is this guy?" You know, like, "Why are you so nice now?" And I'm like, "I try. I'm trying, buddy." And life forward. I just got back. Spent a week in Montana elk hunting with my son, and he got his first bull, and it was great to see him do that. And you
I saw
know,
the photo.
yeah.
I saw the pride.
Unfortunately, I guess we're gonna spin a little forward here. There are things in life that some people do or say or whatever else that I don't agree with, but I just keep scrolling. So if you don't like it, keep scrolling. It's good. It's all good. I still love you. It no matter. You don't have to comment. So it it just is what it is, man. And that's just I think in life, and what I love about this forum is one, we get to connect, and people get to see. Um, but like you said, we learn more substance about each other that we've been doing in the last 40 years, 30 years professionally. And I mean, I listened to you guys, before we started, and I was in awe of how smart you guys are, and I'm proud to say that, like, wow, that is super cool that we all kind of came from the same place. And, I guess maybe that we all get caught up on the political side. And the thing I would say is, man, how about we just like narrow it down, and we all good people. I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, I am amazed at how many good people I went to high school and junior high school and elementary school with. It's insane.
Well, the weird part, I try and remain politically agnostic because it never ends well. I'm most of us want the same things. We
Yeah.
want our kids to go to good schools. We want to feel safe. We want to feel like we have equal opportunity. And politics doesn't really lend itself to that. It's turned into Coke and Pepsi, or it's turned into the Dodgers Giants. And people, or Miller Lite. I love those old commercials. Those commercials were the best.
Right.
And I don't really understand. It's an equal, both sides to me have failed us. The country's in debt. We're $38 trillion in debt. We can't even pass a budget. We haven't passed a budget since 1998. We file continuous
Right.
resolutions. I look at California and I'm like, we should be better off than where we are. We have the biggest tax base in the United States, I think even bigger than New York. There's plenty of money, especially outside tourism money, all those things. Things should not be in disrepair. We shouldn't have so many homeless people. We shouldn't have so many broken promises. So that's why I stay out of it, because I'm team us. I'm team Russ. I'm team Jim. I'm team Lori. I'm team all of us that are just trying to get by. I am out of the politics thing. And so, it's really interesting. What's it like now going to Tennessee, coming from the state of California? Like, from a people perspective, do you find people to be more ingratiating, or are people just people there?
Well, people are. I mean, anywhere in the South, people are amazing. Um, just that love college football. They love their sports. But the one thing that I'll say it's people will just strike up a conversation in the middle of the grocery store um, about the football shirt you're wearing, and it's awesome, you know. But as you get closer to the city center, I see a lot of things that I dealt with when I worked in San Francisco, and I'm like, holy Lord, this is just mushroomed throughout the world. Um, and let's just take homelessness for example, right? Um, I don't know how many times I would stop and I knew the local drunks out there. It'd be hot. I'm like, hey, I'd pass out of water. These are waters that I bought. The department didn't give them to me. I I told him, hey man, you need to be drinking some water today. Let's knock off for a little bit and drink some of that water. So we we sh- we can all agree that we should not allow people to rot in our streets. You know,
It's sad.
it's a common like how have an expectation. We can all agree that we have an expectation of life. All this other stuff we can we can debate gracefully and agree to disagree. I may say something that Jim or whoever disagrees with, and like, hey man, I kind of disagree with you on that. All right, hey, I still love you, man. And that's just like, how did we get so far off of this thing, and then start calling each other names, and it's like we all just got to come back together and have an expectation for the people we elect, right?
I think
Um,
people, I think the biggest problem I see is the overgeneralization of everything. Like, if you support Trump, you're this way, or if you support the Democratic Party, you're this way, or if you view homelessness or immigration this way, you're this person. But it's a one size fits all, because, I started buying McDonald's gift cards way back when, and I would give those to homeless people. So, wait, what?
what's going on?
What's up, Russ?
Wait,
Nothing, buddy. It's good to see
oh
you.
my God, this is funny. Did
Mike,
That's
Scout set
Mike
this
awesome.
up?
crashed the party.
Nice,
So the thing I was going to
nice.
remind you, Russ, is that you and I also teamed up to beat top-ranked, undefeated Grant at Grant.
That's right.
Do you
We
remember
did,
that?
huh? Yeah, I do remember
We were
that.
climbing the fences, and we're like, "Oh man, are we going to
Yeah,
make it out of here without
right.
being shot?"
Yep,
Do you remember a
yep.
couple years earlier when shots rang out and all of us Fair Oaks kids were like, "What is going on?" And all the Grant kids were on the ground. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah. Right. That's true.
Oh my
That
goodness.
is true. And then I go full circle, and that's where I worked. You know,
Yeah.
uh, it's
Oh
like,
man, on Grand Avenue. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, my dad used to crack me up because he'd call me and go, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm working." He goes, "Well, where are you at?" I'm like, "I'm up in the Heights." He goes, "Oh, you need to be careful there." I'm like, "You sure didn't care about sending me up there in a beer truck with a bunch of money in my pocket." I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "Come on, man! I got a badge and a gun and a whole bunch of guys to come help me." I go, "I'm good."
That was the
But
tough
yeah,
love that Jim was referring to with Mr. Bear, your dad, and my dad last week.
yeah, it's you know, it's and that's the one thing, you asked me earlier, like what I want to talk about. I mean, like I could geek out on baseball like all day long. I could go to a
Well,
baseball game and it's like everybody's like going, "Hey, do you want to go?" I'm like, "No, why?" I'm like, I honestly, I could geek out.
yeah.
Uh,
Well,
but
that's
I
Jim
think
and I. Jim and I have been doing that for decades now. We just sit there and go. I mean, last week was an hour for us. We could have gone like 6 hours, but
Yeah,
it's
especially
so
when you start
funny.
talking about the analytics part of baseball, and then there's the mental side, like some stuff I learned from Eric, because I kind of thought that maybe guys are trying to lure you into leaning
oh
over
yeah,
the plate,
yeah.
or as a hitter, getting them to come inside or whatever. Because I still think Will Smith rope-a-doped uh, whoever it was, I think it was Bieber, into hanging a curveball inside after he was hanging over and all of that. That
Yeah.
part is just crazy to me.
Oh, and
The
it's
mental
they're so
side of the
good at
game.
it. Yep. Yeah, that was
Well,
what we
I
were
just
talking
wish.
about last week, and it happened to me a lot. I mean, that was one of the things I had to learn to get better was the mental part of it. It's a chess match. The talent is so high and so equal that you have to be good at, you know, a chess match. I mean, you're just trying to outthink the other guy. So yeah, Russ and
Well,
I mean that was a magical game, man. That was a game like for the ages. Did you know that there were like, I don't know, 20 scouts there that day?
In the back afterwards, I think somebody
Yeah.
said it. They were definitely coming to look at you, not me.
They were there
Yeah, but they
to
could have
uh,
discovered you.
they were there to see Grant and especially Gerald Rucker. Remember he signed with the Stanford.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
And it just so happened that we shocked the world on that day and a week later I got my first recruiting letter from Stanford because they were there. I mean,
Nice.
unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah. It's you know, uh, that's. I suppose the like you were talking about, Eric, the mental part of it. Um, Teaching whether you play any further than high school or little league or whatever, it still equates to life itself.
Every day. Absolutely.
And I retired and ended up my daughter was going to St. Francis, right? All girl Catholic school in
I
Sac.
remember. Yeah. I
And
remember.
I get I get recruited to coach the JV girls softball team. And
You might have been
uh
in over your head. Is
but
that what you're trying to say?
oh yeah, I was close to, getting eaten up. But the great thing that I took out of this, right, is I told the girls, I was like, hey, they would come back and they'd strike out, or I'm like, hey, here's the great thing is no one ever really sat me down and explained this to me, is that um, you know, just relax. Just see the ball and hit the ball. Just
Yeah.
breathe. And you know what? If you strike out, if you pop out, if you do whatever you're doing, guess what? You're going to come back to the dugout. And guess what? I still love you.
Yeah.
And I believe in you. And your teammates believe in you as well. So what I need you to do is grab your glove and go play defense.
Yep.
Okay? Dude, I swear to you, once I got those girls to buy into that, they strike out or not, it's like, hey, it just
Just
like
keep going.
blew off of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was a cool thing. So,
I
but
think the best lesson out of that is I think people that perform at their peak level, it's one of two things. They're either just zeroed in and they see
Hmm.
nothing else but beach balls as a hitter, or they see nothing but the black of the plate, knowing that they can shave it like a piece of cheese. or somebody that is totally relaxed. Because when you tighten up, you can see it. We have all watched enough baseball, geeked out on enough,
Yeah,
that we see somebody in the on deck circle and they look
he
like
looks
their
scared.
sphincter is so
Yeah,
tight and they
yeah,
don't think they have a chance. And then there's a Kiki Hernandez who
yeah.
hits
He's just
a
having a
buck
great old
20 all
time.
year. And then all of a sudden during the playoffs, he goes, "Hey, I don't know if any of you guys know this. I'm Ted Williams. I'm back." It's crazy.
There was a game one time
It's
where,
true.
same as what you're talking about, Russ, where there's probably like 15 scouts at a game at Renfree Field in a summer game that I was playing. And I was
Yeah,
like
that's right.
so nervous, man. And this guy, this great guy that I played with, Steve Eakes, he went to Highlands High School. He coached there, and
Yeah,
just a great dude. He comes up to me, he says, "Hey, man, what's going on?" I said, "Well, I'm super nervous. I want to do good today because look at all the scouts over there. It's crazy. This is just a dumpy Renfree Field, summer league game, and there's all these scouts there." He's like, "Hey, here's the thing. Win or lose, we're going to drink a beer in the parking lot. So just do your thing, man." For
right,
whatever reason, it just relaxed me just enough. Of course, I shredded.
right,
Everything was cool. And oh, by the way, we had a beer in the parking lot, no matter what. So just like what you're saying, just let it flow. Yeah,
right.
unbelievable.
It's interesting, It's just, but uh, I'm amazed at, like I was telling Jim earlier, that just everybody's journey, um, and how many good people were associated to that we all met in either little league or high school or whatever. I mean, I looked the other day and I just looking at Facebook and I'm like, oh my gosh, like look at everybody how they just we all grew up to be good people,
Yeah,
and
sure.
we all have our um unfortunate things in life, and that's just life. But man, we just I mean, I'll just tell you right now, man, I freaking love you guys, man. I really do.
Love you
And I
too, man.
appreciate you, Jim, for doing all this. And it is awesome, I mean, I who would have, I still can't believe that I'm getting a master's degree, but I just
Good job.
um
Awesome.
just you just keep cranking. I don't know. Might not it's not the most polished, never been the most polished person,
Just
but
keep
you
going.
just keep grinding, man.
My dad
Uh
would be
It's
proud of you.
authentic.
My
uh
dad was a professor of English for 44 years, and he had a master's
I
in English,
know.
of course. So he would, if he knew that, somewhere he's smiling, saying, "Good job, Russ." I know he.
Well, he had a
Well,
role. He had a role in all of our lives.
Yeah,
It just as Wayne and Daryl and Ed. That's Mayer, Bates, Skinner, Anderson. All those guys
yeah,
played big roles in our life. Gave us little bits and pieces that
right.
we all kind of draw off of in just the littlest moments. I think about it all the time, and
Yeah,
that's why Mike and I wanted to do this. Is we wanted to reconnect with friends. We wanted to be able for Eric to share his story and his journey in baseball. I wanted to share Russ's journey in law enforcement and the love of his family and how he's always been hardworking and authentic. And it came across, and there's so many people and then it blows me away the amount of people that called me and said, "Hey, can I get Eric's phone number? I want to reach out to him." And then the amount of people that I didn't even realize I said Russ was going to be on, and they're saying, "I can't wait to hear what Russ has to say," and all of
yeah.
that.
Well, I don't know
and
if you remember
and
this,
that's and
Russ,
that's
but
what's really cool about this. And then Mike and I, we speak our own language.
yeah,
um, we haven't announced it yet, but once a month, it's going to be the two of us are going to do a very quick 30 minutes. It is going to be unrated or X-rated, however you want to do it.
oh
It's going to
my
come with
goodness,
parental guidance because we're going to talk about all the childish stuff that we talk about during the week. Because I can't even tell you the stuff that we talk
oh
about
my
because he
goodness,
always catches me like 6 o'clock in the morning and stuff like that because
yeah.
it's as his day's going on. But
Well, I don't know if Russ remembers this, but he and I used to see each other almost every day at the gym. Do you remember
yeah,
at Rio del Oro? And this
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
I don't know, 2004 through '09, somewhere in there. I don't know. It's
uh-huh,
that time frame.
yeah,
And so,
yeah.
lo and behold, here comes Russ and his wife. Well, she was your girlfriend at the time, and then she became your wife. And, so we would chit chat almost every day, Jim. This was like all these years later, and then of course I moved on and he moved on, and I mean, so it's like just like you and I, where it's just ongoing conversation that it pauses for a few years, and then it's like you just pick it right back up again.
Yeah,
Speaking of
it's so
pauses,
true.
I am going to have to make room for Mike to come back. So, Eric,
Well, he
thank you for shocking the absolute shit out of me, because I see another face come on, and I thought it was Stout, but Stout isn't supposed to come on for a little bit. And then I look up and I'm going, what did he keep last week's link? And he's now going to pop in every week and say, what's up?
he asked me on the
That's
phone, "Do you want to
funny.
crash the party?" And I was like, "Okay, I guess."
That is awesome.
That's awesome.
Good to see you,
Eric,
Russ. Love
Hey,
you,
good
man.
seeing you too, buddy.
Love
All
you.
right, love
again,
you too, brother.
Eric, I can't tell you how many people reached out and they loved everything that you had to say. They said, Sorm, if you talked less, it would have been even better. And I get that. So I'm good with it.
Barely
I
scratched the
have
surface
to,
of fun stuff, man. Yeah.
I'm working on my comedy routine here. So, Eric, have a great day. Love you,
All
man.
right. Talk to you later, man.
All right, buddy. See
All
you.
right.
Love you, man.
So, Russ,
All right.
let's finish up with your current life in Tennessee. Tell me about adapting from going to California, going to Tennessee, being surrounded by family, and then what do you see the rest of your life looking like with all of your life experiences getting you to where you are?
Uh, so if you're asking me like how Tennessee is,
Yeah.
it it's home. I think it's a lot of the things we grew up with. Like I tell people, I go, California is not the California that I grew up with. We had a lot of what we have here. Uh, we're lucky enough that my wife's cousin actually lives here and all their kids. My sister's still in California. Um, and, she just had a pretty good scare. She ultimately, I'll make it really quick. She had brain surgery, and it wasn't cancer, and that was awesome. Making a full recovery, and so. But other than living here in the South, it's awesome. Moving forward, my kids are 23 and 25. My son's getting married in, I think it's July of next year. Um, and he's selling insurance, went to the University of Alabama, met his soon to be wife. My daughter went to Ole Miss, and she's working her way through school, and working here in Nashville. And, life is good. I'm just trying to simplify life. I don't need a gigantic house. So just as long as I can walk to coffee and get a beer, I'm good.
So I didn't get to ask you this question, and it's so out of sequence, but so is my brain. My brain's always out of sequence. So when you worked for U.S. Marshal, I always think of that movie with Harrison Ford and the one-armed person that killed his wife. What was the name of that movie?
uh, uh,
Anyway, they're in pursuit of Harrison Ford because he has escaped, and it's the U.S. Marshal Service. It's Tommy Lee Jones, etc. The fugitive. So,
mhm.
do you have any stories that might have made the news or anything of a fugitive, or just a fugitive story in general, where this person was the bad of the bad and it was a crazy pursuit of anything? Because that's always fascinated me.
Uh, yes. I mean, it kind of goes, uh, it goes by the wayside sometimes. It doesn't really make the news. I mean, I think we've caught maybe 4 or 5 America's Most Wanted guys that were on the list
No way.
throughout my yeah. It doesn't make the news. Unfortunately, our news outlets could care less about that kind of stuff. Um, so they really just that's not who cares, you know. But what a lot of people don't understand about like the Marshals Fugitive Task Force is there may be like um, two or three um, bona fide deputy U.S. Marshals, right? And then the rest of the task force is made up of local highway patrol, probation, parole, or CDC guys, and then police and sheriffs, right? Uh, and then what we're called is we're special deputies with the U.S. Marshals. So we're deputized as U.S. Marshals. We can enforce federal and state law. So that's basically. But it, I'm.
Did it
What
take
I want to
you
say
all?
is,
Did it take you all over the country, or was it more region specific, or how did that work?
so. So we were the Pacific Southwest Fugitive Task Force. So we covered basically from Ceres to the Oregon border and then east into Reno.
Okay.
Um, and then, you know, a lot of stuff like even the state of California, we had we had 6 teams just like mine throughout the state of California that did exactly what I did. Um, so they don't get the credit. They don't get the credit that they deserve. They're all out there doing great jobs, and you know it's unfortunate, um, that they don't get the credit. But as far as like crazy,
Were there high
I don't
speed
know.
chases, or was
Oh
it
yeah,
converging, or how did? What was it all
it
about?
all it was all of the above. Sometimes it went pursuit, from chasing a Russian guy that he and his buddy like to steal cars. That guy put more people in lives in jeopardy by driving the way he drove, and he ultimately, airmailed it into the. I think it's a Exxon station now at Fulton and Hurley, and then ended up jumping out and running. And, we caught him. Uh, how nobody got killed by his actions, I have no idea. And then there's just, you know, little things like, uh, the sheriff's deputy that got shot and killed at Howe and Hurley there by the cinemas. Uh, we ended up, you know, close to that guy, as he's firing rounds at us, and a whole bunch of
So
people,
you
and then he
actually
just
heard
gives up.
bullets
So,
whizzing.
oh yeah. Um, I mean, I've heard bullets whiz when I worked in the Potrero district in San Francisco. You know, um, by myself at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, knocking on a parolee's door up in the Potrero is not a picnic. So you got to learn how to, uh, you know, one, know when to retreat and get the hell out of there because this does not look good. So a lot of stuff like that, man. It's just you learn it, and life just goes on. But I wouldn't have
So
picked anything. Go ahead, Ben.
no, you would go there by yourself. You wouldn't go with a partner or anything. You just go knocking on doors by yourself.
Yep, by
Oh
myself.
my god.
I mean, I loved being in. I loved the Bayview in San
Yeah,
Francisco. I loved it.
yeah.
And honestly, the best fried chicken I have ever eaten in my life was from a parolee's mom. And I used to always tell his name was Maurice Barr. And Maurice, if you're out there, man, you ever catch us, you did a great job. He ended up becoming a plumber, but his mom was always offering me dinner. And I was telling Mrs. Barb, I can't, appreciate it. Thank you very much. So then I told him, hey, today's this is the last time I'm going to see you, man. I'm transferring out and, you'll be assigned to somebody else and whatever. So she's making fried chicken, right? And she makes a plate on, paper plates, right? And then staples it closed. And as I'm walking out, she tells me, I will not take no for an answer today. You will have dinner tonight. And she handed it to me. And I said, you know what, ma'am, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I went out to my car because I could smell it the whole time. And I'm like, dude, that's I ate that chicken. I was like, oh my God. I called him and go, your mom's fried chicken is the best fried chicken I've ever eaten in my life.
Wow.
So
did you call
yeah,
the judicial system and say that, hey, why don't we just end this probation period? He's good. Let's go.
He ended up, I think, discharging off parole a few months later. So he was good. I mean, that dude was a plumber, and I mean, I will say, like, I had guys that were lifers, and the big difference, if so everybody knows, it's like you have this revolving door of guys that just keep thinking they're going to get away with stuff, and they always getting put back on parole and stuff. And then you get a guy, a lifer, and I had a guy, he learned how to weld in prison, got out, he's got a union job, and when you have a lifer, there's a lot of paperwork. Even if they change addresses or lose their job, you have to send a report to the governor's office.
A lifer is someone who's lifetime parole.
Yeah, they can have life without the possibility of parole or life with parole, and so they'll always be on parole.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. So life with parole is that you can.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So and honestly, those guys, they get it. He's like, man, I will never go back to prison.
They don't want to get out.
No.
Yeah.
He goes, I'll have a job tomorrow. Don't worry about it. And he called me the next day and go, hey man, I'm working over here. Go ahead and put that down. I'm on a 6-month job, welding. So it was that was cool. But
That's
life
really
is a journey, man.
It is a journey, and to think of these people that here, let me get my microphone so it's a little bit better. The idea that life is a journey, you're absolutely right, and the difference you've been able to make in these people's lives who really they don't have second chances. They're almost out of any chance they've got,
Right?
And that some of them are going to be fuck ups, and they're going to be fuck ups the rest of their life. It is that revolving door, but those ones that you can touch, those ones that you can make a difference in their life. Think of the lives that you've changed. Think of the lives that you've had a positive influence in. Aside,
Right.
all issues aside of protecting society, those individuals that you, Russel Skinner, have helped make better people of themselves.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Good stuff.
It's kind of cool, and I don't know if I'm getting off topic, but I met
there
this
is no
old,
topic. I'm just going.
I met this old guy at the Kroger's around the corner, and he was sitting at the bus stop, and it was pretty hot that day. And I drive a '74 Bronco, and it's not the easiest to get in. This guy's a pretty big guy, right?
Yeah.
So he asked me for a ride home, and I'm like, well, I'll see if I can get you in my Bronco. I go, but so he ends up getting the Bronco, and I drive him home. I carry his groceries in, and now I call him once a week. Like, hey, do you need anything from the store? Do you need? And it's like, honestly, it's like such a good feeling to just, I guess, serve somebody.
Sure.
It's cool, and we were all blessed in life, and
Yeah.
I think we were blessed with each other, and in a crazy way, it's I think of the funny stuff we had, uh, you know, going to parties or whatever else. Dude, we had a good time. We all looked out for each other, you know, in
That best
in a
describes
certain
it
sense.
there.
Yeah,
Everybody
it
looked out for
does.
each other, and they still do.
Yeah, it's
So,
fun. It's fun.
so I got to ask you the closing question. What kind of music you listening to?
You know, I'm I'm pretty much an outlaw country guy.
Are you really?
Um,
Okay.
uh, but I sure do like
Can you
I
edit that
like
out, please?
Okay.
I I like yeah, I like all kinds of music. Really, I mean, it it we listen to music on the back porch on our Fridays and Saturdays when we're here at the house, and you know, sometimes it's like, who's going to be DJ tonight? You know,
Yeah.
so that's fun. I'm always a I can always appreciate some good rap. You know, you know, I'm the Easy E guy, and you know, I think my kids probably listen to him more on the way to school,
Yeah.
because you know, yeah. So I'm pretty much a country guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, Russ. Well, I seem to have frozen. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear
I
you.
can
Yeah.
see you. You look like
You can see
Julius
me?
Caesar striking a pose.
Et tu, Goose.
That's funny.
Okay. Well, I don't see my camera on, so I'm not sure what's going on. But anyhow, Russ, it's been great having you on. Wonderful stories. Again, Jim, another great episode. Russ, thank you very much. And any parting words there, Jim?
Yeah, Russ, you've turned out to be a great man. I mean, I knew you as a young lad, and you were hardworking and pretty quiet. You just went about and did your business. You were the opposite of me that was out there at shortstop saying, "Hey, everybody, look at me. I'm going to say some funny shit. Oh, I might fart too." Anyway, and you've become the same person as an adult. You're a role model. And I really enjoyed the time we got to spend in Tennessee at the Live Golf Tournament. It was like the old song "Reunited" because it felt so good. Um, it was
I
it was
don't
just
think that's what that song was about, Jim.
it
But
was for me that day.
but that's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
It may not have impacted Russ the way it impacted me, but it was peaches and herb all over for me.
Okay,
I felt
you know
so
what?
good.
That gives that now I kind of understand why you were saying that the song "The Stroke" reminded you of me. Okay, never mind.
Russ, thank you.
uh,
And
yeah, thank you guys.
I think that the lesson everybody can learn from you is just how hard work, staying focused, doing what's right, being honest, you can make a real impact in this world, and you've done it. I was hoping to get more like crazy stories of you chasing down people and kicking doors down, but gosh, I really enjoyed this, Russ. You're a
Oh,
fantastic
thank you,
person.
man.
Your family has to be super proud.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you, guys.
All right,
Hey,
Russ.
thanks, Russ. Take
All
care.
right.
See you, man.
Bye
Bye
now.
bye.
See you. Bye.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting the bad boys, but it just went wonderfully, absolutely wonderful.
I kind of think he didn't want to go there. I mean, he
That's
shared
possible.
some stuff, but I would imagine it's probably pretty tough. I don't relate because I don't have those adrenaline moments in my life, but I
Yeah,
could not imagine bullets whizzing, being outside a door that you don't know what's behind it because you're paid to go apprehend somebody. That's
right.
scary stuff.
Yeah, of course, of course. And I will say this: that if someone shows up in the chat and makes a comment, they are almost duty bound to be to crash the party. When Eric sent a message, and I said, "Oh, I got to get this guy in. I got to get
Dude,
this
I
guy."
thought
And
it was you.
the look on your face. I know. The look on your face is great
I was like,
because we've talked.
wait, that's
Yeah,
not Stout.
yeah. No, wasn't me. Wasn't me. But anyhow, who do we have next week?
Dave Grasshoff. It's going to be interesting. He's spent over 30 years as a news cameraman. He
Mhm.
has witnessed, he has filmed tragedy, greatness, met a lot of very interesting people in his life. I want to
Cool.
ask about Judge Judy. I heard she was really fun.
Okay, great. Anyhow, Jim, it's been a great show,
Yeah,
and we'll see you next week. Love you.
love you too, man.